Ladies and gents, welcome back. Leaked information to the Toronto Star on Friday may suggest that the federal Liberal Party may be making moves behind the scenes to get rid of the unwanted COVID-19 mandates, including the dreaded ArriveCAN app. While this is some interesting timing. Why the timing? Well, let's get into it. The article from the Toronto Star says Trudeau government considering an end to COVID-19 vaccination mandates at border and random testing sources. They have sources. The federal government is considering turning the page on a pandemic era restrictions by ending the COVID-19 vaccination mandate at border and scrapping random testing requirements, the Star has learned. Interesting that. Big long article here. We can get into it. Federal government is considering turning the page on pandemic era restrictions by ending the COVID-19 vaccination mandate. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet have yet to make final decision, but several sources confirmed ministers will soon weigh in on a move that could spell the end of the unpopular ArriveCAN app. Interesting that. That would mean unvaccinated foreigners could once again be allowed to visit Canada. Unvaccinated Canadians would also no longer face fines up to $5,000 if they couldn't show proof of a negative COVID-19 test or a previous positive infection before entering the country, and would no longer need to quarantine at home for 14 days and be subject to on-arrival testing. Now, I can go through this whole article, but they summed it up so nicely on Twitter, the Toronto Star did, by, let's just call them spoiler alerts for their own article. You don't even need to go read it. Toronto Star exclusive: Trudeau government considering end to COVID-19 vaccination mandates at border and random testing, sources say. That would mean unvaccinated foreigners could once again be allowed to visit Canada. Unvaccinated Canadians also no longer face fines of up to $5,000 if they could not show proof of a negative COVID-19 test or a previous positive infection before entering the country. The government also weighing ending mandatory random testing for unvaccinated travelers. The practice was temporarily suspended in June 11th before being reinstated again on July 19th and is now being done outside of airports. They, of course, with the same article being referenced here, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet have yet to make final decision, but several sources confirm ministers will soon weigh in on a move that could also spell the end of the unpopular ArriveCAN app. Down towards the bottom of the article, we have here Health Minister John Yves Duclos, however, rang a more cautious note saying the government didn't know what it would face this fall and everyone should be prudent and stay up to date with their vaccinations and booster doses, constantly driving this narrative that you need to be up to date. His new their new PR scheme is that vaccinations are a bit like charging your cell phone, is what they said. You just like you charge your cell phone, you need to charge your direct route to the government, biological direct route to the government via vaccines. The Public Health Agency Canada reports at least 18,404 fines were issued between April 14th, 2020 and September 8th, 2020 for COVID-19 related offenses, such as refusing to go to government-approved quarantine accommodations, arriving without a valid pre-entry test, and refusing arrival testing and breaching quarantine. I have yet to hear of anyone actually paying one of these fines, but I digress. Now, what's the timing? Why is this why are they on about this now? Oh, right. Yeah, there seems to be a popular movement. They're calling it a populist movement. I see it more as a lot of Canadians are tired of a government overreaching perpetually, perpetual overreaching, and they have found someone who speaks to what it is that they would like. We had 300,000 votes in in a vote, in an election for leadership of a political party. This is unheard of. It's crazy. Even Justin Trudeau's landslide victory back in 2013 came only on the heels of 80,000 votes. So they are running scared. They're terrified of this situation. And, well, what else is being said around the world? Well, here's Joe Biden talking to 60 Minutes, a popular broadcast for past many decades, speaking to 60 Minutes about the COVID pandemic. And have a listen.
Mr. President, first Detroit Auto Show in 3 years.
Yeah.
Is the pandemic over?
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over. If you notice, no one's wearing masks. Everybody seems to be in pretty good shape. And so I think it's changing, and I think this is a perfect example of it.
So somebody forgot to mention this at the latest Davos meeting to Justin Trudeau, apparently, because we are, of course, the last country to keep muzzling our citizenry at the airports and on airplanes. But this is what's going on. What do we have here? We have, interesting that when Pierre Poilievre calls for an end of ArriveCAN and dropping federal COVID mandates, he's described as a far-right populist. So what can we call New Zealand Labour member of Parliament and Prime Minister here, Jacinda Ardern? New Zealand drops mask and vaccine mandates in sweeping COVID changes. How about a massive reversal on their position? Jacinda, I don't even know how you're supposed to call that. Jacinda Ardern says it is time to turn the page on the pandemic as she scraps all but a handful of restrictions. Yeah, interesting that, but this is where we're at now. Not everybody in Canada is all happy about, well, it's not all roses over here in Canada. People don't believe that this is going to happen. We even have global freedom movement, citizens forces tweeting out, quarantine officers are still being hired. Climate enforcement officers are still being hired. Quarantine camps continue to expand. mRNA manufacturing plants still being built. Emergency power is ready to come back at the stroke of a pen. They're not panicking. They're preparing. Are you? Well, leave that to you guys in the comments down below. What do you think's happening? Do you think that the federal government is afraid? I believe that they're afraid of the popularity of the freedom movement in Canada and how that's turning out politically. They've been paying attention to these polls, these bunk polls that media organizations put together, such as the one that reported on recently where they discovered that 70% of Canadians don't like a politician who sided favorably with the freedom protest in Ottawa over last winter, or this past winter. Turns out that doesn't resonate very well when it comes to actual people going out and actually putting their money where their mouth is and voting. These polls, you can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And it seems that the politicians in Ottawa are only fooling themselves at the moment. So they're definitely afraid of what's going on here. They're calling it a populist movement. I call it people waking up to their civil responsibilities and just getting out there and doing their civic duty, voting for the people who are going to leave them alone the most. Anyway, leave it up to you guys in the comments down below. What is your take on this situation? Do you think they're actually going to lift these mandates like the rest of the world is doing? Or do you think Justin Trudeau is going to hold on to this until he is voted out permanently from government in Canada? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Please consider doing that. Hit the notification bell. It lets you know when I go live. I go live every Friday at 6:30 Pacific time, but I occasionally do another live stream with people as they come on as guests throughout the week. Now, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.